My name is Michelle McCormick, and I am the host of Orange County DimeStories. Tonight is a very special night. We're calling it our showcase because the folks that we have chosen over the last 6 months as audience picks, sort of the favorite of our audience, there's 6 of us who are going to the LA Times Festival of Books. Congratulations, I want to make sure I get everybody, goes to Pam Tallman, Natalie Hurt, Ed Kaufman, Terry Black, Liz Zurcher, and who's our 6th? Billy Freed. Where's Billy? He's not here, but Billy is going to be reading, and he also is very well liked. And the topics range from mothers to monks, you name it, from cinnamon toast to hot dogs. And it's quite exciting. And also, what we notice is some months there seem to be themes that sort of run through the stories. Some months it's about home. Some months it's about cars. Some months it's about sex. Some months everything is just funny, and some months it's so heavy you just want to go home. So hopefully tonight we'll get a bit of a mix, but you never know, there might be a common theme that comes through. And what I'd like to do is start by thanking Suzanne Walsh back here with our camera. And Salt Fine Art Gallery along with Carla Tisak. They have provided this space for free. Somebody tonight asked me, how much do you have to pay for that space? And we said nothing, because it's a Laguna. And it's that kind of generosity of spirit. So we've really loved this venue, and it's one of the only galleries in Southern California that premieres Latin American art. Is that correct? Okay, would you like to say anything else about that?
Just welcome to the space. This is a great event, and it's just been a pleasure for us as well to participate and to have this type of culture take place in the gallery. It just bumps it up to another level. So we're excited as well.
In fact, when I first spoke to Carla, and actually Ed Kaufman introduced us to this particular gallery, she said that she had dreamed that one day she would have a coffee shop / gallery that would actually have open mic readings and a bookstore. So this has sort of all come together, I think, for her and for all of us, and we're greatly appreciative. I usually intersperse our readings with quotes from writers about writing. But tonight I don't think I'm going to be doing that, because we have so many people who want to say something other than reading. So I'm going to invite Amy Wallen, founder of DimeStories, National DimeStories, to come up and tell us a little bit about the history of DimeStories. Amy, come on.
Wow, I haven't been behind a microphone in a while. Michelle asked me like 5 things to say to you tonight, so I'll see if I can remember like 3 of them probably. One was who I am. I'm Amy Wallen, and I'm a novelist. And she also asked me to tell you a little bit about what I do, and I was sort of thrown aback by that, because while I do write, we all know that isn't how most writers make their living. I do it all sorts of different ways. And one of them is I write book reviews for the Los Angeles Times, along with essays for other magazines that, I don't know what you call all the blogs today. I guess they're just blogs, but Huffington Post, the Fashion Times, etc. So a little bit of everything. I also run a program it's called Savory Salons. I just started it. They're literary salons that I run in my living room, and I happen to be a savory pie baker, so I decided that I wanted to be able to bake pies for people and do what I wanted to do with them, and invite authors to come into my living room, and then have a space available for about 8 to 10 people who wanted to just come and spend the day with an author. And that's been going really well. I had David Ewan from the Los Angeles Times, the book critic, came for the very first one in January. Samantha Dunn, who many of you may know, she's a great essayist, also writes for the LA Times, but she's written about 5 memoirs. And then the last one I had was, I'm drawing a blank. Susan Henderson, right, Up from the Blue, best-selling novel. That's just come out, and it's doing really well, and she was adorable. We all fell in love with her. And then next I have Amy Friedman, who's also an essayist. Anyway, several more coming up. Kara Hoffman's coming up. Enough about me. But how Dime Stories came about was I'm also involved in a group called San Diego Writers Inc. in San Diego, and they asked me to MC an open mic, and I said, sure, with one rule, and that is it can only be 3 minutes long, and I won't have anybody read for more than 3 minutes. And they said, that won't work, nobody will do it. And I said, well, that's the only way I'll do it. And they said, well, good luck to you. You can try it for a while, and when nobody comes, then we'll change it. And that was 7 years ago. So, and it's now across the country. Yeah, we're doing in New York and Albuquerque and Orange County. You can see we've got standing room only. And, you know, it's a small group, but we've had some people in San Diego. We've had up to 75 people come. And then NPR came along and was interested in recording pieces. And we have a few pieces. In fact, I don't know if you're familiar with The Story on American Public Media. Yeah. We just got on there last week, which was really exciting. They had a story about border traffic. And they put one of our Dime Stories in the middle of that story, which was really exciting. And then several NPR stations across the country have picked up Dime Stories and used all the pieces that we have recorded and produced so far. But as you know, this is a nonprofit, volunteer-based organization, so putting together pieces and recording them and producing them takes a lot of money and a lot of time, and so we're slow going with it, but we're trying to get a few more pieces put together for that. And so anyway, like I said, the 3-minute thing did seem to work out pretty well. People tried to defy me in the beginning, but my timer was stronger than they were. And as you can tell, Dime Stories is doing pretty well. The Los Angeles Times, like I said, I write book reviews for them, and so I also do. Am I going too long? All your Sing to the good part. Right. She said like 5 things. I'm still thinking there's 2 things left. The Los Angeles Times book reviews that I was doing, they asked me to moderate some panels, and then a couple, I guess it's been 3 years now, I think we've been on stage. Will this be the 4th or will this be the 3rd? Either way. But I asked, could we have Dime Stories do a show on stage? And so, just for those of you that are going to be reading there, will you raise your hands who you are? That are Liz, you? Oh, everybody in the front row. Excellent. Did I see your hand too? Excellent. And your hand too? Yes. Wow. There's like 5 spots and we got 10 people reading? So you have a hard time counting too. Now I have to see how your timer really works.
We have 2-minute, 1-minute stories. So
you know, one year I gave those little timers out, and I ordered them from China, and they're like, their 3 minutes in China vary from anywhere from 5 to 10 to 2.5.
It's that cross-cultural difference.
It is. It's international dateline. Unfortunately, people were using it to practice at home. It did cause a problem. Yeah. So anyway, so we started doing Dime Stories. Just to give you a little background on how it works, a little bit of idea so that you'll be completely relaxed, is it's just the usual, but you're outdoors, and there's a nice big crowd, but they're kind of coming and going. People would like to stop. They see that there's a story happening, and they just stop to listen. The Los Angeles Times Book Festival is about storytellers, and so they really want to see more stories, and they especially love live stories, so Dime Stories has always been a big attraction. Every year that I've been there, the show just before Dime Stories will have like 4 people in this like setup, so that it's like set up for 200 people to sit, and you have like 5 people sort of scattered in this little those white plastic chairs in the audience. Dime Stories comes on, it's filled, and people outside standing around, and people stop by as they're walking by. So don't be nervous; it's a big crowd. But they're, you know, it's a very friendly audience, and they're all very welcoming, and it's all really relaxing. It goes by really fast, as you know from how fast it goes here. Did I answer all your questions?
I think so.
Okay, and more. Okay. Thank you.
So, you know, we just really want to thank Amy for founding Dime Stories, just the creativity behind it. She's made all of us better writers because we now know how to do slash and burn editing. Right, we could take a 500-page novel and create 150 pages like that. For any agents in the audience, we can do it. And then also, I'd just like to acknowledge Meredith Resnick, who's also in the back. Meredith, can you stand up? I know you're a little bit but so Meredith was our host of Orange County Dime Stories for over a year.
I think longer.
Longer too, maybe. Yeah, it was a long time. Yeah. And a couple of things that you're doing now are you're blogging for Psychology Today, or?
Right. Many different things, blogging and writing and freelancing and health writing and many things.
Great, great. All right, well, with that, I would like for us to begin. This is how it works. We have a can, a red can that has your stories in it, your names, the titles of your stories, and we have, hold on, technology here that has a 3-minute timer. And at the end of 3 minutes, you will hear the soothing sound of a bell chime. And that means that you're done. You're just done. We don't have a hook to pull you off the stage. In fact, some people start reading really fast, and they get the last 3 lines in really fast. So again, there's a little freedom in the form, but what we hope you make your 3 minutes, and most of us do, I think. So let's just go ahead and get started. We've also got, I think, 2 or 3 new readers here tonight, which is exciting. So let's see how it unfolds. All right, our first reader tonight. Wait, we need a drum roll. Okay, first reader tonight is Amy Wallen, reading A Rodeo Clown.
Oh, I didn't have enough time. I needed to have... No, I'm okay. I'll make it. I could go back to my chair, but that would take away from my 3 minutes.
Okay, hold on. This is so exciting timing her. I can't tell you.
I'm so gonna go over too. I know. I can't do
Ready? Go.
On my dad's 80th birthday, I asked him what he would have been if he could have been anything he wanted. His response: rodeo clown. He didn't even think about it. He knew his answer as though he'd been waiting for someone to ask. A rodeo clown, in case you're not from that redneck portion of the chaparral, is the fellow they send into the arena when the cowboy has fallen off the brawny bucking bull. The rodeo clown distracts the bull. He whistles, "Over here, big boy, sweet Elmer." And the rodeo clown is the silent hero of the show, rescuing the cowboys who thought they were rough and tough enough to get on the back of a pissed-off bull. My dad would have made a fine rodeo clown. His ropers are broken in, he drinks beer better than most any cowboy, and is always calm in the face of danger. My dad was an explorer, an oil man. He followed the stars in the Sahara at night, waded through rivers in the Amazon, and macheted his way through the West African bush. In his life, he's faced mamba snakes, rivers teeming with piranha, and even a caged skunk in his own backyard in Texas, all fearlessly. He tells a story about when he was 5 years old. His family very poor, and both parents had to work, so he was left at home to fend for himself. He decided he would be Superman, and with a towel as cape, a little help from the rain gutter, and armed with all his 5-year-old conviction, he proceeded to jump off the roof to fly. I believe that if Mr. Adams, the neighbor, hadn't shown up when he did, then my dad really could have taken flight. Superheroes don't just jump off tall buildings, run as fast as trains, or leap over airplanes. Sometimes they help you turn fishing line into the finest musical instrument for your 4th grade recess band, or they finagle under the Christmas tree the Susie doll you coveted, or sometimes they cry when you cut and style your long little girl hair for the first time at the age of 14. My dad has passed his 80th birthday. He still fishes in the surf at the Gulf in those full-body rubber waders. He still takes his rifle and climbs up into the deer blind where he can spot the biggest buck in his scope, although he doesn't shoot anymore. He makes his own beer, travels far to visit his kids or just to get some good barbecue. He has 2 new knees and can walk more than a mile without tiring out. It might be said he's slowing down a bit, but you don't really notice except that his scotch glass isn't refilled as many times each evening at cocktail hour, and his boots don't wear out as fast as they used to. He hasn't dug any post holes in the past few years either, but he doesn't have any more fences to build. My dad used to wake up my sister and me every morning by saying, "It's a jungle out there and the whole world is ahead of you." I liked the double entendre of that. He taught me that the only way to get through fire, dodge a bullet, miss a punch, or avoid a raging bull is to keep moving. Maybe you have to do a little sidestep or a zigzag, or maybe you come away with a limp, but don't stand still, whatever you do. A rodeo clown never falls off the bull. Instead, he jumps off and flies.
Amy, I forgot that's one of our connections is Texas. Texas, that's right. I know what it's like to wear those boots, and I have calluses from post hole digging. Right here. Yeah.
So you're the only one here that knows what a roper is?
I know what a roper is. Yeah, there may be others, but thank you. That was beautiful. That was a beautiful piece. Okay. All right. Let's see who's next. Terry Black, Escape from Hot Dog Woman.
Crap, I have to follow Amy. All right.
Just the mic.
Oh, which one? I'm calling most.
Got it?
How's that?
Good.
Are you ready?
Okay.
Okay. She wasn't my girlfriend. We weren't dating. I'd seen her face to face for a grand total of 48 hours, but I was smitten like a pimply-faced teenager. Ever since we stood together on a bridge over the Allegheny and watched the fireworks light up Pittsburgh. It was magical, a hallmark moment. That was when I fell for Hot Dog Woman. I call her that because I met her getting a hot dog. I've always had a fondness for smart, beautiful women and hard to identify pork products. Sadly, this perfect dream couldn't stand the light of day, let alone the rules of geography, and now Hot Dog Woman is out of my life forever. I don't think breakup is the proper term because we weren't a couple to start with. I suggest sudden loss of a hoped-for relationship or slow-fur to describe what just happened. All I know is it sucks, it hurts more than you'd expect, and it's really hard to explain. Picture losing a bundle on credit default swaps, only with a person instead of a bankroll. They say getting over someone takes about half the length of the relationship. In the case of Hot Dog Woman, that would be 24 hours. But it's proven to be more persistent than that, a problem I'm still grappling with. It doesn't help that I'm obsessive compulsive and the breakup or whatever keeps popping up again. They also say the tough thing about losing someone is that wherever you go, you're reminded of her. That shouldn't matter with Hot Dog Woman because she lives 1,000 miles from here. We have no favorite spots, no history. All we had were emails now deleted, but I'm constantly reminded of her. The other day, their Wiener Schnitzel had a sign declaring Hot Dog Wednesday. On TV, Craig Ferguson mentioned Dodger dogs. A friend left a coupon in my office offering a 2-for-1 chili dog special. Never mind this like putting tile grout into your bloodstream. Suddenly, everyone on the planet wants me to have what can only be described as America's least wanted hot dog. Or maybe I'm just overly sensitive. Ever notice how when something troubles you, it's suddenly all over the place? We could have an issue with sprocket wrenches, and there they'd be. But hot dogs are especially hard to avoid. According to the Great American Hot Dog Book, about 20 billion are eaten in America each year. It's like trying to forget someone who works at Starbucks. If this all sounds a bit frivolous, well, that's by design, because this really is upsetting. I'm honestly depressed. I'm trying to work my way out of it by making the whole thing sound ridiculous. Save your Paxil. What works for me is getting it down on the page in a way that's screwy and irreverent and makes people wonder what the hell I'm talking about. You're all my therapist, gentle readers, help me deal with the loss of something I never really had. Except, perhaps, for a dream. A dream of a new beginning in a perfect Pittsburgh. With Hot Dog Woman up there alongside me, only she doesn't actually live in Pittsburgh or love hot dogs like I do, or care. I think I'm desperate that I push too hard. Maybe that's it.
We love Terry's Hot Dog Women stories. There's more where that came from. There are more. Truly, there are. I really would love to see an edited, an anthology of your dating experiences in Orange County.
World isn't ready.
Next person. Next reader. Natalie Hurt. And I don't have your title. Oh, because you don't. Off the Hook. All right, Natalie's reading Off the Hook. How's that for you? You just stand a little closer. There you go.
and thought I'd join a gym, meet some people, and get in shape for the new year. Though I was brave enough to try out a new gym, I wasn't brave enough to allow anyone to see me in a swimsuit. After an hour of swimming laps, I looked around, made sure no one was watching, grabbed my bag, and made a mad dash for the locker room. It's a beautiful gym, brand new with every modern amenity. Lathering the shampoo, I noticed how nice and wide each shower stall was, how clean, and surprisingly, no hair in the drain. Strangely, no shower curtains either. I'd never been in a women's shower without privacy curtains. I rinsed the shampoo and began conditioning, noting that a brand new gym would spend so much money on everything else and then skimp on curtains. Perhaps they hadn't gotten around to putting them up. Rinsing out the conditioner, I wondered when this fitness gym had actually opened. Could have been very recently since everything was so new. I peeked around my dividing wall. Lucky me, it appeared I had the whole place to myself. I could shave my legs. I was digging into my bag, looking for a razor, when a naked man came in and started the shower, one down and across from me. Did I say naked? A man in the women's locker room? Visions, much like snapshots, came to mind. Extra wide shower stalls, sans any hairballs, and no shower curtains. I looked up. There weren't even rods available for them. Could it be me? The man had not looked my way. He hadn't seen me yet. For a moment, I felt like an observing anthropologist. Naked man comes into the showers and he doesn't look around to see who else is in there. How is this? I'm always cautious and look around to see who's in the room with me. Can I safely say that most women do? I think so. Is this behavior normal in a man's world? Men don't look? Are they homophobic? Or is it that they don't have to worry about being assaulted? A terrible sense of vulnerability washed over me. I was naked in the showers with a strange man. I turned off the water, grabbed my towel, and tried to remember to breathe. I had to walk past this guy in order to leave the area. What do I do? Okay, I said out loud. I won't panic if you don't. It must have been my voice, because the man suddenly assumed a duck and cover position, shouting, "I'm sorry!" Soaking wet with dripping hair and a towel wrapped tightly around me, I grabbed my bag and walked out, back into the pool area where I realized those who may not have seen me in my swimsuit could now view me in nothing but a towel. They also saw the opposing door had no letters less than 2 feet tall, or had letters no less than 2 feet tall, that read, "Women." At first, I leaned against a locker door, trembling. Then I began to laugh. Laughter gave way to full-body shakes, guffaws, and snorts, tears streaming down my face. I took a shower in the wrong locker room with a strange man. And then, another epiphany. My swimsuit was still hanging on the hook in there.
Thank you. Natalie has the great gift of being able to read a really comedic piece, but also come with a very heavy, kind of wonderful, dramatic piece. So you chose comedy tonight, and that was nice. All right, Suzanne? Oh, is it? Oh, okay. Well, we're all right. Yeah, maybe I'll play with it or something. And yeah, Suzanne's taking photographs because the Laguna Beach Independent or the Laguna Beach Magazine wants to do an interview of some of us with photographs about the LA Times Festival of Books and what we're doing here in Orange County with DimeStories. Very exciting. All right, next. Pam Tallman reading The Oops Option.
It was the worst job interview of my life. Worse than the time an employer asked me where I needed to improve, and I blurted out, "I need to stop stealing office supplies for drug money." I don't even do drugs, but whenever I talk to somebody who holds my financial future in his hands, I say stupid things. I've taken practice interview classes, but in the heat of an actual interview, the training flies out of my head, which creates a vacuum that sucks in nervous drivel. Not surprisingly, I've had a lot of downtime to study this problem, and I've devised the solution. I call it the oops option. This neat little device allows me to erase my most idiotic response by simply saying oops and taking a do-over. My worst blunder usually occurs early in an interview. Oops, did I say that I was terminated from my last job for spending all day on eBay buying stuffed penguins? What I meant to say was, due to the economy, my company downsized. See how simple? Oops, option taken, interview saved. But not all my bad interviews were my fault. That's why the oops option should be allowed for other reasons. That rule could have redeemed the above-mentioned worst job interview of my life. On that ill-fated day, my prospective boss led me into his swanky new office. Let's skip the questions, he said, and have a look at your portfolio. Great! As a graphic artist, I had a dynamite portfolio. I unzipped the leather case and proudly placed it on his desk. He flipped through a half-dozen brochure and program designs, each time nodding his approval, until he turned to the next page. And there, sitting on a menu design, was the biggest, blackest cockroach I'd ever seen. And it was alive. The critter scurried across the page and jumped into the guy's lap. He shot up and began stomping on it, but his carpeting was so plush that the roach just sank between the fingers. He then broke into a rigorous rendition of River Dance, and when that didn't work, he grabbed the golf trophy off his desk and bludgeoned the carpet, only stopping when we heard a disgusting crunch. I was speechless. I couldn't even think of something stupid to say. Keeping his cool, the guy pulled out his handkerchief and extracted the remains of the dearly departed interview wrecker. "Would you excuse me," he said, and left the room. Laughter spread down the hall, moving from office to office to office in a sort of Doppler effect. The rest of the interview was shorter than, well, the life expectancy of a roach. I was not called for a second interview. But if I'd been allowed an oops option, I know that job would have been mine. The roach incident would have been forgiven, although probably not forgotten. I could have just smiled sweetly and said, oops.
So, Pam, just love it. It's really just love it. Enjoy it. When you
I
read
was
it,
30 seconds under at home.
when you read a story like that and it's so good, and the audience laughs, it's like you can't. It becomes 5 minutes, which is wonderful because you've gotten the audience's involvement. All right. Well, maybe I will just grab a couple of quotes from Writers on Writing. This is by Lord Byron. "But words are things, and a small drop of ink falling like dew upon a thought produces that which makes thousands, perhaps millions, think." Émile de Girardin. "The power of words is immense. A well-chosen word has often sufficed to stop a flying army, to change defeat into victory, and to save an empire, or to keep the United States government running." Oh, sorry, I added that. Okay. Rita Mae Brown. Let's do Rita. "Think of a word as a pendulum instead of a fixed entity. A word can sweep your ear and by its very sound suggest hidden meanings, preconscious associations. Listen to these words: blood, tranquil, democracy. You know what they mean literally, but you have associations with those words that are cultural, as well as your own personal associations." And Robert Frost, "All the fun is in how you say a thing." That's it. All right. Who's next? Barbara Benham, reading "Honking the I Don't Know Protestant's Car." The what?
Honking the horn.
Honking the horn on a Protestant's car. Nice. I like that. Too bad the can can't randomly choose the short and the tall at the same time, right? Is that good?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Okay. Go right to 3 pages. Okay. honking the horn on a Protestant's car. It's wartime. I'm 5 years old. My mother's an air raid warden and has to put a helmet on once a week and walk up and down our street at nighttime. She says, I have to make sure nobody left lights on in case somebody can see where we are and bomb us. The next day, I jump when someone starts banging on the back door. See who it is, my mother hollers to me from the front room. I open the door. It's a man, I holler back. What man? What man are you, I ask. The man says, Ooga Amp. It's Ooga Amp, I scream to my mother. Find out what he wants. What do you want, I ask him. He says, Ooga Amp. Ooga Amp, I holler back. Mom stomps towards the door and bellows, God almighty, can't you find out what he wants? Yes, she says as she approaches the man, can I help you? The man says, Ooga Amp. What? Ooga Amp, and he gestures wildly towards the package he's holding. What's that, my mother asks. Ooga, he responds. Their mouths get quiet for a while, but their eyes get big. I'm feeling sorry for him because he wants to be understood. I'm wondering why God makes some people this way, and I think when he dies, if he's Catholic like me, he'll probably have a front row seat reserved for him in heaven, or maybe even a seat next to God himself. Let me see what you've got there, my mother says. He unwraps the spotted package and shows her a bag of sugar. Oh, my mother explodes with sudden realization. Sugar stamps! Of course, you want sugar stamps for the sugar. And she rushes to the kitchen drawer and pulls out a piece of paper, pulls off some stamps and gives them to him. The man's face looks better now. He smiles with tiny teeth for his big head and nods a lot. He gives her the sugar and leaves. Mom walks back, shaking her head and saying out loud to herself, Ooga Amp. God almighty, sounds like a Zulu from Africa. Isn't the war bad enough we gotta put up with this? A few days later, I'm getting ready for bed when noise breaks out downstairs. My parents are hollering, oh my God, is it true? I dash down there to see what's happening. Mom cries, look, everybody's outside. I can see all the neighbors standing on everybody's grass and nobody's ever allowed to walk on the grass. We race outside, even though I'm in my pajamas. Horns are honking and blaring sounds are coming from everywhere. My best friend Joan and I are allowed to climb into her car and honk the horn. I can't imagine what's going on, and I'm stunned that I'm allowed outside at night in my pajamas to catch lightning bugs, and honk the horn on a Protestant's car. Finally it gets dark and people start to go home. We go back in and Mom lets the screen door slam and says, it's about time. No more sugar stamps and no more parading the streets in a helmet at night worrying about bombs. Can you beat that? Thank God the war is over.
We had 1 second left. How long did you practice that at home to get to the 3 minutes?
Oh, I did many times.
Many times, I believe it. I believe it. Okay, let's. I don't know who we're going to have next.
We're going to let Mark Miller talk.
Yeah, how about that? Yeah, let's. Hold on just a second. And why don't we kind of do the two of you guys together? How would you like to read first, and then?
Oh no, Mark's just going to recommend us.
Oh, okay. So Ed, why don't you introduce Mark Miller?
Oh, okay.
Can you do that?
Mark Miller is the director of the Friendship Shelter, and he's here to make an announcement about their own little DimeStory competition.
I'll just stay right here if that's okay, because I'm afraid if I go up there, I'm going to have to read something astonishing. I don't have anything. My name is Mark Miller, and I am the director of programs for Friendship Shelter, if anyone is familiar with that organization here in Laguna Beach. And we have this, our mission at Friendship Shelter is to assist homeless adults regain self-sufficiency, become more productive members of the community. And I have this fantastic job at Friendship Shelter because I get to work with people on a daily basis. And a group of the people that I have been working with for not even a year up to this point, but for probably the last 8 or 9 months. True? Is there any? Is that we work with a group that we call our Artist Collective. And this is a group of artists who at some time in their life either made part of all of their living through the creation of their art, and then life happened, and they're trying to find their way back on their creative path. we are going to, in June, right? In June, we are producing this wonderful theatrical event called Stories of Home, which is an event that we produced last year. And so what we are doing is we are taking performers, writers, visual artists, and putting them all in one venue to tell stories. So when I was talking to Dr. Kaufman, and who's on our program committee, by the way, and his wife Karen Reddy, who sort of runs that artist collective group for us and supervises our MSWs, they said, you should see if those DimeStory people would be interested in loaning you a story or two. And so Ed and Karen invited me here tonight, and this is one of the coolest little performances I've seen in a very, very long time. So I absolutely love what you guys are doing. And I would like to ask you, as authors, if you wouldn't mind, if you're interested, writing a dime story, a 3-minute story on the theme of home. And we would like the opportunity to select one, possibly 2 of those stories to include in our production in June.
Want to tell them who read last year?
Last year, I don't even, who did read last year? Anyone know who do you know Tess Harper?
Oh, yeah.
Tess Harper was a reader last
She
year.
actually read on the Etc. stage right after us at LA Times Festival of Books last year. Tess Harper, yeah. She's
John
wonderful.
Hurd read last year.
John Hurd.
He was also right after us, yeah.
Oh, really?
And then some other Hollywood TV type actors.
So you want to tell them what the deadline is and how they submit it?
Our performance is going to be on June 16th, so I don't know how long it takes to write a 3-minute
Christy.
story.
Sorry?
You said by the end of this month?
I would say, again, I don't know how long you need, but May 1st, is that reasonable?
And
Or let's-
your email?
We'll
Or Mark?
send it.
Where should we email it?
You know what? I'll leave some business cards that'll have my email on it, and anyone who's interested can pick one up and just, when you submit your story, they'll say this is a dime story, so that we know where that's coming from.
Any particular theme?
Home.
Home. Home. I don't know if you noticed the heart in the installation here. But it's this piece right here is entitled Home Sweet Home.
You know, I have to say that
Yeah.
that work, that's like some of the coolest work I've seen in a really long time. I love that stuff.
Yeah, it's very nice. Very nice. Okay. We good, Mark?
We are. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming and for inviting us. That's wonderful.
I think it would be a great little
It
collaboration.
would be great. Okay, our next reader is Ed Kaufman. He's reading Touched by a Gorilla.
Agasha, a 400-pound silverback gorilla, finishes the last of his bamboo shoots and rumbles straight for our group of 7 tourists. The dense mossy forest leaves me no room to back up. Eugene, a Rwandan park ranger, commands softly, "Get down." I crouch, duck my head into my chest, and scrunch my eyes shut. My wife Karen photographs a blurred gray mass just before she kneels. We have no idea where our 15-year-old son Adam is. I try to convince myself he'll figure out what to do. I feel the tips of the silverback's hairs and breathe in his strangely sweet odor as he brushes by me and moves to the edge of the clearing where Adam is filming and has no place to go. Adam quickly slides his thin body between thick bamboo stalks into a protective cave of green brush. After the gorilla passes him, trackers machete away an exit door, and Adam emerges with a dimpled grin. Agasha ignores us and joins his many mates and babies. I look closely at his face with my binoculars until his eyes meet mine. I drop the binos quickly. The younger gorillas beat their chests and come towards us. Eugene moves us back 5 feet and the infants retreat, only to advance again. Tourists are instructed to stay at least 23 feet from the animals, but gorillas don't follow these warnings. I become aware that Mariana, standing next to me, is clearing her throat to make Diane Fossey-like sounds that say to the animals, "Don't worry, do not be frightened." She opens her eyes wide and lifts her eyebrows. Her facial expressions turn into those of the baby gorilla. Mariana, a veteran of over 20 treks, whispers to them in an oddly soothing Bavarian dialect. Tears slowly stream down her cheeks when the babies come close and tilt their heads towards her. She shares that her husband of 40 years died after their last trek 3 years ago, and they had no children. The infant gorillas leave us to suckle at their mother's breast, climb weak vines, and collapse to the ground where they twirl and wrestle. Mariana coos to them, and they scramble towards us again. She smiles happily. I quiver, deeply moved by her attachment. Adam is rapidly separating from me, but for the moment, our gorilla connection lets us feel closer. What is so special about these animals, I wonder, that they can rescue the economy of a small nation or entice me to hike up the steepest mountain I've ever climbed? Gorillas share so much of our DNA that when they scratch their head, hiccup, or pick their teeth, they remind me of my Uncle Joe. Yet, if not habituated by years of loving contact with trackers, they are quite dangerous. There are no bars, moats, or car doors between these huge beasts and us. It is only reciprocal trust that protects us from each other.
You had 10 seconds left.
Oh.
With all that adventure and excitement, I don't know how you do it. Isn't it amazing what you can pack into 3 minutes? A full story arc. I mean, that's the challenge, and Ed, you demonstrated that beautifully. All right. Oops. Oh, a new reader, Rena. Please come forward. She's reading Medusa Likes Sweet Things.
Down a little, yeah, good. And then back to my dad, like that. There you go, and just stand a little closer and you're good.
Medusa sat down, placed her mocha frappuccino down on the cafe table, and waited. Her face was flawless, a dusting of powder matted taut skin against her fine bones, and red violet lipstick covered her lips like raw pigment. Leaning back against the wall, she adjusted her mirrored sunglasses, which had a habit of slipping down on the bridge of her nose, made sure her brown felt cloche was snug around her head, and waited. She took a long sip of her drink, relishing the taste of artificial sweetener, processed cocoa powder, and hydrogenated vegetable oil. Sweeter than nectar, better than ambrosia. She sighed contentedly as she replaced the cup on the saucer. Then she spotted him. He was beautiful this time, especially framed by the radiant light coming in from the open door behind him. Medusa sat, her dark glasses reflecting and doubling this image, and took another sip of her coffee. She watched him walk forward to the counter, place an order for coffee, black, pay for it, and with calm, relaxed self-assurance come over to her table. "Hello," he said, sitting down across from her. "How have you been?" Medusa, saying nothing, picked up her cup, brought it to her lips and drained it. She put the cup down and waited. "Still the talkative one, eh?" he said as he grinned at her. With the backside of her hand, Medusa pushed her cup and saucer to the edge of the table. She reached over to his coffee cup and dragged it close to her. Never removing her shaded eyes from him, she reached over to the condiment caddy and took out 3 pink, 3 yellow, and 4 blue sweetener packages. Placing them together like a deck of cards, she brought the assemblage up to her left canine tooth and neatly tore the corner off all the packets simultaneously. She spat the water paper out the side of her mouth, poured the ribbon of powder into the coffee, and dropped the empty sacks on the floor so they fluttered away like dry leaves. The whirlpool she created by tipping the cup from side to side mixed the contents together. Medusa then drank the entire black pool of liquid in one swallow. She smiled. "Excuse me," she said, in a near whisper that forced him to lean closer to her across the table. As she abruptly stood up, he glanced at her at the very instant when her sunglasses slipped down slightly on her nose. Adjusting them with her index finger, Medusa smiled all the way out the door. The shadows lengthened as the day passed. Nightfall came, as it always does. "Excuse me, mister, we're closing. I need to clean your table. Sir, I need to close the place down." As the boy spoke, he gingerly tapped the man with his finger. Startled, a momentary flash of fear quickly overcome with a smile, the man acknowledged the boy with a nod of his head, got up from his chair, and left through the door.
Well, you're a dime story girl. Have you done this before? Well, that was nice, under 3 minutes. Very, very nice. Okay, well, I think we're coming down to it here. Kathy, another new reader tonight, Kathy Sena, coming up from Manhattan Beach, is that right? Yeah. Coming up from Manhattan Beach. And she's going to be reading Way Past Midnight at the Oasis.
I like this putting the short people together at the same time. It makes for easier nights. On a recent trip to the mall, I walked into one of the stores, blending in splendidly with the moms who shopped with their preteen daughters. But I soon discovered as I scanned the racks of clothes that these were my clothes they were selling, and the girls who were the intended audience had no idea what the memories tied to these billowy blouses, these fringed vests, these patched and hand-embellished jackets meant to me. When I was 17, I wore torn jeans from Chess King and an embroidered red peasant blouse to my first Maria Muldaur concert to hear Midnight at the Oasis. I wore the same jeans to see Bruce Springsteen back when he was still scrawny and wearing a black fishnet tank shirt. Back when you could get so close to the stage that one woman grabbed him and kissed him when he bent down to touch some hands. Every wall of that clothing store bore witness to my personal history. That chocolate brown floppy suede hat, mine, worn while bouncing down an Arizona dirt road in the back of a friend's pickup truck. The red short shorts that my dad despised, right there in the rack. The hip huggers with the rawhide laces, the cheap beaded earrings, all there and all mine. We've all heard the rule of thumb for deciding whether one should jump on a new fashion trend. If you participated in it the first time around, you're too old now. Following that rule might have spared me the indignities I was about to suffer in that dressing room. One glance in the mirror revealed the real deal. A body that's seen this many decades of life and 32 hours of labor doesn't necessarily need to be trussed with rawhide. While I once saw the clothing styles of my youth as a way to impress a particular 14-year-old boy who called himself Dan the Man, as a way to look like Linda Ronstadt or to push the envelope a bit with my parents, I'm ready, finally, to pass the teen fashion torch to a younger crowd. But I will confess, I bought a blouse that day. A beautiful, sheer, wispy, looking back, kind of cheesy confection of a blouse with elastic at the wrists. A blouse designed to slip down casually over the shoulder. The blouse I would have worn to that Loggins and Messina concert if my dad had let me leave the house in it. The blouse of my adolescent dreams. Sadly, there was something about hanging that blouse in my own closet next to my other clothes that jerked me back, tires screeching, to 2011. Plus, the reviews didn't help. The two phrases I remember from my husband and teenage son's critique were, "You're not in high school," and "like a hooker." At least I kept the receipt.
Thank you, Kathy. That was beautiful. Thank you very much. Have you read in DimeStories venues before?
No.
You had 20 seconds left. Please come back. That's sweet. All right. Our next reader is Liz Zurcher, who's also going to be at LA Times Festival of Books, reading Cinnamon Toast from her. Is it an anthology?
Yeah.
Okay, come on up. Her published book.
Ready? Apart from chocolate, nothing says love quite like cinnamon. The aroma alone warms the heart, and mothers in our family have known this for years. My grandmother expressed her love with fragrant, gooey cinnamon rolls. My mother pampered us with flaky cinnamon pie crust. And me? I was the proud queen of cinnamon toast when my boys were growing up. School day breakfasts were a fast and easy cereal smorgasbord, assorted cereal boxes lined up on the kitchen counter for the boys to choose from. They poured at will into big wooden bowls, depending on what they had a taste for that day, washing the cereal down with giant glasses of orange juice. No pulp for Eric, lots of pulp for Greg. The one constant was cinnamon toast, served on small green melamine plates, and I was the only one who could make it right. At least that's the line they fed me. There's no big secret to it, I used to tell them, but they wouldn't buy it. They wanted Mom's cinnamon toast, not just any cinnamon toast. When they were small, I could get by with a couple of slices each, but as they grew, so did the stacks of cinnamon toast, until the 2 green plates looked like they would buckle under the pressure of the toast towers they held. It wasn't there long. Those boys powered through that toast like nobody's business. They'd pull their stools up to the kitchen counter, pour and slurp their cereal, guzzle the OJ, and inhale the toast. Then they were off to school. In their wake were bowls puddled with leftover milk, empty juice glasses, and green plates glistening with cinnamon sugar. Scooping up a finger full of cinnamon sugar, I felt a sense of motherly satisfaction. Sometime during high school, the toast production reached a point of diminishing returns. I discovered this after a few days of seeing toast left on the plates. Not just crumbs and cinnamon sugar, but whole slices of toast. Apparently, like all things, there is a cyclical nature to cinnamon toast consumption. At first, I took it personally. Was I slipping as queen of cinnamon toast? Had I lost my touch? Maybe, like a mother who asks her teenager too many questions, I'd gone overboard with my toasting. I cut back, relieved the green plates of their burden. But I found it strange that as my boys grew into young men, they needed less cinnamon toast, not more. Maybe, I realized sadly, they just didn't need as much of mom's toast, or mom for that matter. I still have the green plates, but I haven't made cinnamon toast in years. Once the boys were out of the house, the toasting stopped. When I asked them recently what they remembered about breakfast when they were growing up, their answer surprised me. Cinnamon toast on little green plates, they both said. That was the best part of breakfast. Do you ever make it now, I asked? No, Mom, they said. You're the only one who can make good cinnamon toast. Feeling like all that toast had just paid a huge dividend, my heart warmed with cinnamon love.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you. That's one of my favorites of yours. That's great. Are you going to read that at the festival?
Maybe.
All right. We have one more. And this would be Michelle McCormick reading Biscuit Scripture. A bit of cinnamon toast and biscuits. I'm going to get hungry with that. Okay. And as you're listening, you might want to look at that rolling pin and that image right there of a kitchen. It was like perfect today when I walked in and I realized what I was reading. Mama, wait. This is not fair. You have to tie me. Okay, hold on a second. So just hit start. And there you go. Ready? Mama, why do you seem so happy when you're in the kitchen? Fanny replied, well now, darling, I don't know. This grandmother, Fannie Mae Brickell, and her 5-year-old granddaughter, Maggie, stood side by side at the counter, hands covered in flour. Fanny ran her hands down the front of her apron. She dusted her wax paper with just enough flour to work in the dough. Standing in this small farmhouse somewhere in the center of rural Texas, Maggie didn't miss the big city or her parents, not one bit. It was summer and she was free. With the naive curiosity of a 5-year-old searching for some missing ingredient in her grandmother, something she was yet too young to grasp, she said, yeah, Mama, really happy. But the rest of the time you seem kind of, I don't know, well, kind of sad. Fanny responded in a quiet, beaten down way, easily mistaken for Southern Baptist humility. Well, is that right? As a matter of fact, darling, I'm not sad. I'm just real tired. Fannie Mae made everything from scratch, adding ingredients by feel or to taste, the same way she played the piano, by ear or by heart, the same way she worked the foot pedal of her Singer sewing machine. Maggie pressed, also, did you know that when you're in the kitchen, you're always singing your church songs, kind of under your breath? And you smile when you do that. Fanny reached into the cupboard for the can of Crisco, taking in the presence of this intuitive child. Is that right? I talk to myself? No, Mama, you sing to yourself. Ready for action, Maggie held up the empty flour sifter in her left hand. Grandmother and granddaughter fell into a timeless, sifting rhythm. With her free hand, Maggie pulled her body up high enough to watch her grandmother's magic show play out across the countertop, knowing that soon Mama's biscuits would come out of that oven in a black cast iron skillet, 6 of them. Warm biscuits, biscuits you could smell, biscuits you could eat with butter and honey, washing down each bite with cold milk, Slowly pouring buttermilk into her mixing bowl with the back of a wooden spoon, Fannie Mae pressed the alchemical mixture up against the sides of that bowl. That's it. About a cup is good, I expect. Don't know the exact measurements. Maggie smiled. Mama, do you have it all memorized like your Bible verses? The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. But instead, something kind of like biscuit scripture. It would sound like this. 1 cup of flour, sifted together with a heaping teaspoon of baking powder, a pinch of soda, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of cooking oil, and enough good old buttermilk to make your dough thick enough to roll out flat. Not too stiff. Now press them out with a biscuit cutter. Grease the top, bake at 450 degrees. Listening to this biscuit song, Fanny heard herself singing in response. 1 good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over. Maggie looked up. Mama, I love you. I didn't get one of these. I do have them in every color, don't I, Meredith? Meredith trained me well. So, great readings tonight. And what we're going to do, I'm going to have Liz come up in a minute and explain how we work audience picks. Who you choose tonight as your audience pick, the person you enjoyed hearing the most, will help them decide what they're going to be reading at the festival. Also, just wanted to mention that if you are going to the LA Times Festival of Books or have read before and would be interested in being interviewed for Laguna Beach Magazine or for the Laguna Independent, would you please write your name and phone number down on the list or the roster over here so our journalists can get in touch with you. And then also, Stevie, who's our contact person, and I don't know, Amy, you may want to speak to this, they're suggesting that we carpool down there on Saturday the 30th. We're reading at 11 o'clock?
Yes.
11 o'clock. And I guess the parking is pretty wild, so if we want to carpool, we can kind of get together and decide how we want to do that.
City Letters Inc. is taking the train. I'm not sure what they're doing once they get there. There might be a shuttle from the train station or something.
Oh, that's an idea, to take the train.
Yeah, well, it's at USC this year.
It's at SC, right.
Because there's the whole Staples Center. And
Right, it's all right there.
Maybe. I don't know how it's working, but maybe
Okay.
I'll look it up and find out and I'll email you, and then you have obviously.
That would be great. Yeah, and you email me, and then I'll email them, and then we'll figure it out. We've got time. And then also wanted to mention that in May, I'm going to be asking for a sub-host and setup person. Both Liz and I are involved in May. That would be next month, the second Sunday of the month. We had Ed Kaufman host once, and so I vote for you and Terry for you. But you guys let me know if you want to sub-host, and I'll set you up to do that in May. And then June through August, we may also be taking a little bit of a break. We're not sure yet. Liz and I are trying to finish deadlines for book projects that we're working on. And so if you're interested in hosting or being a part of setup on the second Sundays of each month this summer, please call me or email me and I'll walk you through it and we'll see what we can work out. We don't want to stop, but we got to write our books. So we're going to figure out a way to do that. And we'd love to have some volunteers to help us do that. All right, Liz, you want to come up and talk a little bit about audience picks?
These are little ballot forms, and it's for you to write your 2 favorite readings tonight. And there's a little thing here that you can put your ballot in, and then we'll add them up, and I'll let people know tomorrow.
And then as you're passing these out, she'll pass these out, you can write down your favorites, and I'll just reread them to jog your memory, okay?
Or we can just put the author's name too, right?
You can put the author's name.
Yeah, that's fine. That works too.
You can put the author's name. We had Michelle read Biscuit Scripture. We had Liz read Cinnamon Toast. We had Kathy Senna read Way Past Midnight at the Oasis. We had Rena read Medusa Like Sweet Things. We had Barbara reading Honking the Horn on a Protestant's Car. We had Ed reading Touched by a Gorilla. We had Pam reading The Oops Option. And Natalie reading Hooked off the hook. Liz, we're voting for 2, correct?
Right.
Your 2 favorites, right. And we had Terry Black reading Escape from Hot Dog Woman. And we had Amy reading Rodeo Clown. So Amy read Rodeo Clown, Michelle Biscuit Scripture, Liz Cinnamon, Kathy Midnight, Rena Medusa, Barbara Honking, Ed Gorillas, Pam Oops, Natalie Cook, Terry Hot Dog, and Amy Rodeo. So just your top 2, and then when you're finished, go ahead and place them in the audience picks. Again, if you want to be interviewed by the journalist, put your name, your phone number, and thank you for coming out. We look forward to seeing you guys. Yeah. We really do. We look forward to seeing you guys at LA Times Festival of Boats on Saturday, April the 30th at Cedar Stage, 11 o'clock.